This is a place that I like to come back to, and indeed do on an annual basis nowadays. This is Ingram's Lane at Sutton-on-Trent, and it's home to one of the county's rarest moths, the Small Eggar, a species which came for back in February, I think it was, to find the adult, and we were successful that day. Today we're looking for the larval webs again, something which I did on May the 17th last year, and it's a few days before that date this year. The larval webs should be here. The larvae might be smaller than they were this time last year, but the webs should be conspicuous. We'll have to see how many there are. There were 4 in a count that I made last year, and that would compare to 1 the previous year, if I remember right. So it's a walk on this delightful and quiet country lane. It's a nice place to walk, and hopefully we'll find what we're after. And this is the habitat. This is pretty much how Ingram's Lane is all the way up to Grasthorpe, but I won't be going that far, even though Grasthorpe from here looks about 400 or 500 yards. The hedgerows are in various states. It is trimmed on most of its part by the various farmers here on an annual basis, and that doesn't seem to bother the Small Eggar. It's a beautiful moth, as we saw back in February, and the larvae are every bit as beautiful. I imagine that the larvae will be around about 1 inch long at this stage of the spring, but we'll find out. Hopefully we'll find 1 or 2 larval webs. But I do like this lane. It's rare that you get any traffic on it at all. It's single lane, as you can see. The hedgerows are delightful, and the roadside verges are to die for. This is how country lanes should be. Parish councils and county councils. This is the fine example of a UK country lane. Well, looks like we've got one, but it's way behind what it was at this time last year. Tiny web, no larger than a golf ball, and the larvae are less than a centimetre. We're looking at about 6 or 7 mil at maximum. I can't believe how far behind they are. These are the smallest that I've found, but we'll get you closer so you can have a look. And that's it. If I put my finger at the side, you can see how small these are. There's a few larvae out just at the back. I expected them to be much bigger than that. Last year the larval webs were far more conspicuous and 3 or 4 times the size of these. I'll put a clip in just to show you the difference. But that's our first larval web. Well, I'm further up Ingram's Lane now. It's starting to open up. Obviously there's no hedge on this side alongside this field, but from now on the hedges are small both sides, sort of chest height, and that sort of height seems to be the best or the preferred height on which small eggers obviously lay. But I haven't found any other than the first lot that were found, but they could be easily missed. In another fortnight or so they should be a lot more conspicuous. Hopefully there's more still to be found, but they'll stand out more on the top of the hedges, but at least they're easily visible from now on if any's present. But that one down there that we first looked at, that was quite difficult to find. In fact, I nearly walked past it. Very inconspicuous, so we really should have left it for another fortnight or so, providing we get good weather. But today is very cool again. You wouldn't think it was May. Well, I'm struggling. Still only found the one, and I'm quite a way up now. In fact, as far as I go is where those trees, that line of trees ends. There's no sign of anything, but that could just be down to the fact that the larval webs are so small and they could be tucked just under the top of the hedges. But at least in this part of Ingram Lane, both hedges either side now are at the same height, and you can see at the top of the hedge, which is useful, and certainly will be useful while the larval webs are so small. But we'll carry on. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to head off down a farm track down there that's got suitable hedgerows either side, and have a look down there. There may well be something. Now, just walking along Ingram Lane here, and amongst a wide range of shrubs that make up the hedgerows here is this. This is what's sometimes called Persian buckthorn, Rhamnus carthatica. I instantly started to look for eggs and maybe young larvae of brimstone butterfly, but it doesn't appear as though any brimstone females have found this particular shrub, which has been cut each year by the looks of it. However, we do have somebody eating the leaves here, and this is the larva of the November moth. A very, very common moth for those who trap late into the year, and most people will have seen the moth countless times, sometimes in very large numbers. However, not many people will have seen the larva, but I did come across one only 2 days ago. But that was on Acer campestri, the field maple, and so I can add Persian buckthorn or Rhamnus carthatica to the list of species on which November moth females will lay. So that's quite a nice find. I've just paused for 5 minutes because I think one of the reasons why I like this little lane is a lot of it is just its sound. So it's just how I remember the lanes around Lamley and other parts of Nottinghamshire when I was a young child. The sound of bird song, especially skylarks overhead. Lots of skylarks here. Lots of brown hares in this area as well. And even the barking of dogs. It's all childhood memories. But it's lanes like this with these rich roadside verges and rich hedgerows. There's nothing special about it. I mean, every lane used to be like this before the days of clipping the verges, or at least 3 feet of the verges nearest the road. There's still no need for it. But it's just this sound of spring. Some farm machinery distantly, and say dogs barking, but most of all it's what's up there. It's the skylark's song. Still doing reasonably well, skylark. I think so anyway. And always nice to hear such a beautiful song. Come down off Ingram Lane, down that farm track, and discovered this. I didn't think Trentside meadows like this existed anymore. This is another throwback really to my childhood and the days around the village of Lamley, those happy Sundays that we used to spend there. I haven't seen an area of grassland or meadowland with all these meadow buttercups in since I was a lad. I really didn't think such a habitat as this still existed in Nottinghamshire. I thought that all of this had become a monoculture of just ryegrass. But no, there's lots of meadow buttercup, there's some creeping buttercup, various species of thistles. This is just how grassland used to be. And it's a massive area. It's currently being grazed by cattle. They're distant over there, but it's very much surprised me, this, and it's lovely to see. Well, I've had no further sign, at least not down here, of any other small eggar larval web. But it's still a really pleasant experience. This is just an ordinary farm track, edged with grass either side. Plenty of what we used to call daily bread at one time, but the umbellifer of cow parsley looks lovely in flower. It's just ordinary rural habitat. And to be honest, it makes a great change walking around such habitat. I'm not madly keen looking for things. I am concentrating on looking for larval webs of small eggar on either hedgerow, either side of the track here. But sometimes it's just good to get into what you call sort of normal run-of-the-mill habitat. Leave your nature reserves behind and look at some of these less trodden paths. Certainly less trodden by naturalists, that's for certain. I enjoy it. It's so peaceful, and as you can see, it's thronged with people. Well, I'm back where I started from. The village of Sutton-on-Trent is just a few yards away, and only just the one larval web which was at the side here. That's all, and I think it could be that there's not going to be many larval webs this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the fact that we are at least a fortnight behind where we were this time last year in terms of small eggar larval development. And it's more than likely that any larval webs could well be tucked in quite deep within the foliage. The moth certainly doesn't lay the eggs right on the outermost branches. So I think a return visit in maybe a fortnight, 3 weeks time is in order, providing the weather stays favourable. But the good thing is, small eggar is still here as a breeding species.